Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, it's Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and I'm coming to you from sunny and hot St. Pete, Florida, where I am attending the NINC, or Novelists Inc. conference of 2018. The theme this year is Craft Your Perfect Career, and I'm hanging out with some of the smartest authors and publishing professionals in the industry, drinking from a fire hose of great insights and information and fantastic networking and inspiration with some really wonderful people. There's no shortage of incredible folks that I love to spend time with here, and so far I've had the privilege of hanging out with people you might recognize from other writing-related podcasts, folks like Joanna Penn, Mark Dawson, and James Blatch, and Kevin Tumlinson, and Nathan Van Coops, or David Gaughran, who's a regular guest on many writing podcasts. I've also spent time with folks from BookBub, Findaway Voices, Written Word Media, Barnes & Noble Press, Michael Underlay from the 20 Books to 50K fame, and the always awesome folks from Draft to Digital, who will be hosting the karaoke night on Saturday, which I'm quite looking forward to. I also had the chance to do a few Facebook Live videos that you're going to hear about in the core part of this episode that include Damon Courtney from BookFunnel, Ricardo Fayet from Reedsy, Christine Munroe, director of Kobo Writing Life, and Carlyn Robertson from BookBub. Tuesday was a wonderful Books in Beer tour. We started at Haslam's bookstore in downtown St. Pete, a legacy, historic, gorgeous bookstore, great place for writers to visit too. And I had the thrill of taking some pictures of three authors who have books in stock at the store, including the aforementioned Nathan Van Coops, who was a guest a couple episodes back. I was delighted to also find a copy of my own Tomes of Terror, Haunted Bookstores and Libraries, in stock, and that's always a special thrill because I wasn't expecting that. And I had a wonderful conversation with Ray at the store about the ghost of Jack Kerouac, which I talked about in the book. So that was a really wonderful afternoon. The group we started with in the morning was about 18 people, and as we moved from the bookstore to the first beer and barbecue place, and then to the brewery stops, the group continued to dwindle. It was like an Agatha Christie novel. One by one, the group got smaller and smaller and smaller, maybe like a horror novel in some cases. But everyone survived. They just dropped out of the tour. And there were the diehards that kind of stuck it out for a while. Some other folks met us along the way. But by the time we reached, we were just about to go to the sixth brewery, I ended up being the last man standing. My last dear compatriot decided he'd had enough and he was done. So I went alone. I was determined to be in it, to win it. It was a long and fun and very dehydrating sort of day, but what an incredible arts and beer scene in downtown St. Pete. And I just love the walking tour and getting to explore these neighborhoods I hadn't had a chance to explore, and some amazing breweries. But this is a writing and publishing podcast, not a beer podcast. If you want more beer stuff, go to spiritsuntap.com. So I'll stop there and get back to the writing. Today was the release date for my book, The 7 Ps of Publishing Success. It's currently live at all the retailer locations globally, and it's going to be 99 cents until Saturday, October 29th. Now, speaking of which, in episode 39 last week, where I read from a rough draft of the book, I read the chapter on professionalism. I had this great comment from Steve on the show notes. And thank you, Steve, for leaving the comment. That's fantastic. And he left this comment on starkreflections.ca, and he wrote, "Can't wait for these books to be out in audio. My order of preference these days is audio, then ebook, then rarely paperback, then almost never hardback. And I've accumulated a library of thousands of printed nonfiction books over the years." Thanks so much, Steve, for leaving that comment. That's great. I appreciate you taking the time to let me know. It also reaffirms the importance to me of getting the audiobook produced, which I'm going to be doing following the tutelage and support from the good folks at Findaway Voices, who have actually published articles to Medium on how to do this properly, and there's links to it when you go to the website. I'm going to be using Adobe Audition for the recording and refining the quality of the files so that they can meet the specs laid out by Findaway. And I'll share when the book is done to you listeners of the podcast when it's done and up in audio, which is ideally going to be just in the next few weeks because I got to double down and get that work done. Now, Findaway Voices also happens to be the sponsor of this podcast, and you can check out how they can help you as an author who either needs professional narration and production or has a professional product to upload direct to their global audio distribution, where you can control the price. And you can check them out at starkreflections.ca/findaway. I'd also like to offer a shout out and thanks to the patrons of the show. Thank you for your support, which means a great deal to me. And I'll be sharing a special recording of the presentation that I gave earlier this morning at NINC. Now, today is Thursday, September 27th, 2018, when I'm recording this. And my talk was 5 career-killing errors an author should avoid. Now, I'll be recording an audio/video version of that presentation and sharing it up on my Patreon page for all patrons to have access to within the next few days. And you can have access to this and more content for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/starkreflections. But enough of my update. Let's get to the short, great chats you're about to hear with some of the amazing folks I get to spend the week with here at NINC in St. Pete, Florida. Hey, it's Mark with Stark Reflections, and I'm here at Novelists Inc., and I'm chatting with Carlyn Robertson. Just did an amazing presentation on advanced BookBub. Now, everyone knows BookBub, or if they don't, they should know BookBub, is an amazing place to get a featured deal. But it's hard to get a featured deal because, there's lots of great content out there, lots of professional writers and publishers doing some great stuff. But there's other ways that you can leverage BookBub, and you just shared a bunch. And there are like 4 sort of key things you can do. What are some of those?
So we have a couple tools now that are available for all authors to use, completely free. So you can recommend books to your followers on BookBub. Really easy, just write a couple short notes about why you loved a book, check I recommend it, and that'll show up for your followers. You can also, there's a couple other ways to share content with your followers. So we send free new release alerts for every single author, no matter how many followers they have.
Okay,
and then
really?
Pre-order alerts. Yeah, that one is, all you have to do is add your book to BookBub. We'll send that out to your fans.
Okay.
Anytime you release a new book. And then when you have over 1,000 followers, you unlock the ability to send a pre-order alert as well. So when your book's on pre-order, you can let your fans know about that.
Okay.
And that one costs 2 cents per follower. But a couple great ways to engage with your fans that way.
Yeah.
And then the other one I talked about was our BookBub ads tool, which is the self-serve display ads at the bottom of our emails.
Right.
And that one you can also target yourself to reach your own fans. So if you've run a feature deal before, you can run an ad.
And I love, so they don't have to be a follower. If I target myself,
follower,
if they've clicked on one of my ads before, or no, one of my featured deals.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you've run a feature deal, a free deal in particular, tons of readers have clicked on that.
Right.
You run a BookBub ad and target your own fans. You reach not just your followers, but anyone that clicked on that deal. So great way if you ran a feature deal for book 1, start running ads for book 2, target your own fans.
Okay.
Let them know about that next book.
That's fantastic. And one of the other things you advised is that, A/B testing is important. You got to test it and see what happens, see what works. You showed some examples of some tests you did where you got the percentages up, etc. And you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars to do A/B testing. You can do something like minimal, just try it out. Like, what's a recommendation?
So I ran a couple tests trying it out. $10 was enough to get about 1,000 impressions, and I think that's a pretty good sample pool to,
so you're not
to get
like
a sense
throwing
of
tons of money away to do these tests.
Definitely don't start with a ton of money. Keep it small, $5, $10, try a couple things out, see what works.
Awesome.
If you invest, $100 total, that's a pretty good round of testing before you then start ramping up your spend on the ads, and make sure you know that they work before you invest in them.
Cool. Awesome. And people can check out insights.bookbub.com for amazing articles every week.
Yes.
And tips and advice from authors who are using the tool as well as other professionals.
Case studies, data from our readers, how-to guides, tons of great information there.
Awesome. Well, Carlyn's going to be a guest on a future episode of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is just a little teaser for some of the great information you can get to. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Absolutely. Great to hang out with you.
Hey, Mark, Leslie Lefebvre from Stark Publishing Solutions, and I am hanging out with Damon Courtney from BookFunnel. Damon, great to hang out with you.
Good to see you again, Mark.
So BookFunnel, for anyone who's not familiar with, is a great opportunity where people can actually get their books into customers' hands. So for example, if you're trying to do a free giveaway, and it's agnostic of platform.
Yes, absolutely.
Roughly, how does that work for people who aren't familiar with it?
So we support all, unlike the traditional stores where you might sell on Amazon or Kobo or Barnes & Noble, they are only targeting their own devices, and they only get their books to their own devices, which is great. They have a lot of people on those platforms, but if you wanted to have a book that you sold or gave to somebody else and you weren't sure what kind of device they were going to have, right. That's where we come in. We are platform agnostic. We handle all the devices, all the Nooks and all the Kobos and Kindles you can possibly imagine. So we know how to get the books to those devices and those different apps.
And the key here is important because most authors are not tech support people. So if somebody's having trouble sideloading to their Kobo or their Kindle or their Nook or whatever, you guys actually have an opportunity to help.
Yeah, well, that's our support staff is amazing, and they're there all the time, and we answer hundreds of emails a day from a lot of little old ladies and a lot of people that they tend to struggle with technology. And that's I always tell people that's the best thing that you buy with your money when you sign up for BookFunnel. Is not just, sure, we'll help them get our process will help them get the book to their device, whatever that is, but our people are there if there is any trouble whatsoever.
Which is absolutely amazing, because then you can get back to writing.
Yes, exactly. That is the point,
cool.
Right?
And you guys just, in the last month or so, you just announced this amazing new opportunity. Can you, and you have a prop we can show people.
I do have a prop. So this came straight out of our authors. We take a lot of feedback from our authors when it comes to what features we're going to build into the future.
Right.
And I think this was just before RWA this year, which is Romance Writers in America, if you're not familiar, but it's a big romance conference that they do every year. And we started getting these requests through email saying, hey, I want to be able to take some bookmarks or some postcards with me to the conference, and I want to be able to give out copies or sell copies of my book. How can I do that through BookFunnel? And you could sort of hack it together. I mean, there were certainly ways you could piece it together, and we had a lot of authors who did, but we realized that there's an opportunity here to make a really cool feature, because at BookFunnel we're always saying that, our goal is to help you sell more books. That's what we want you to do.
Right.
So we created a feature that we just call print codes. We're not terribly clever with our naming schemes. And so what it is you can take something like this. So this is a little business card size for Tammy Lebrecht's Newsletter Ninja, which is a great book if you haven't read it. And all this is her book cover. So we're not doing anything fancy other than just taking her great book cover and putting it right on the front. And then on the back, you can see that little code. Somebody can go redeem that if you want a free copy.
First one out the gate, right?
Yeah, first one out of the gate.
They can get Tammy's awesome book right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
You can get it right now for free because we pay for it. So we actually bought a bunch of copies from Tammy, and then we also have... This is a different one, but same business card, so same size. What you're seeing, this is David Gaughran's Strangers to Superfans.
Another amazing book.
Also a fantastic book. Somebody can go get that code and that copy right there. You just go to
You just gave away 2 free books. You're awesome.
I know.
Writers. Wow.
So you just go to getmybook.com, and it tells you right on the back. It says go to visit getmybook.com, type in that little code, and you get your book. And
so I can get it to my Kobo. You can get it to your Kindle, like however that works.
Right, and each one is unique. So once this has been redeemed, so again, first come, first serve, whoever redeems that code, that's it. No one else gets the book. And so that was really the thing that authors really wanted, was I wanted to be able to sell or hand out codes.
So I could sell that for $1 at a trade show or something like that if someone's really interested in buying my ebook.
Sure, and we have a lot of authors that started doing that as soon as it's amazing how many authors came up and said, "Oh my God, I've been waiting for something like this." And they did. They started printing up postcards of just the covers of all of their books. And they would go to farmers markets and craft shows and trade shows, and they put up a little stand. I mean, if you're already there,
I do that all the time.
Right, and they literally just have them laid across the table or have them up on a stand, and each one is $2.99 a piece. Boom, 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 boom. You can just buy any of those books, and they take the card. They buy the card and take it home and redeem their book.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And so you're constantly innovating, you're constantly listening to authors, and on behalf of authors everywhere, thanks so much for creating BookFunnel, because you've really created some amazing scalable solutions for us.
Thank you. Yeah, we listen to our authors a lot, and I when I come to conferences like NINC, we tell people, email us, tell us what you're looking for, tell us what you need, because even if we can't build it right at that moment, we keep a list of all the popular requests, and we'll put a little tick mark, and okay, that's one more request. We got the print codes thing had been, in some form or another, had been on our list for several months. And then it just happened that in 2 weeks we got 12 requests from 12 different authors asking for the same basic idea. They weren't exactly asking for what we had, but the same basic idea. I want to go and I want to print out something, or I want to take a card and I want to sell it or give it away. So then it was like, well, that's okay. I guess that seems like something we got to build, right?
That's fantastic. Well, I'm excited you're going to be in a future episode of the Stark Reflections on
Yes.
Writing and Publishing
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm excited to do it.
So any questions that you have, you can obviously contact bookfunnel.com, or you just leave them in the comments here, and I'll be sure to ask you those questions when we do the interview.
Excellent.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark.
Hey, it's Mark here. I'm at Novelist Inc. and I'm talking to Christine Munroe, the director of Kobo Writing Life.
Hey, Mark. It's nice to meet you for
I
the
know.
first time
It's
ever.
so wonderful
Finally.
to meet you. Yes, exactly. But you're at the helm of Kobo Writing Life.
That's right.
And you guys have done some amazing improvements to the dashboard lately. And I'm not sure authors are aware of some of the things that you've just added, like free tracking.
Free tracking. Done.
Okay.
It was first on my list when I took over, and there's a toggle now in your dashboard where you can choose to include free download numbers or exclude them if you want to separate free and paid. So I think that's pretty awesome.
So I can see where in the world people are downloading my stuff
Yeah.
for free.
And you might be surprised if you haven't checked your dashboard in a while to see how many countries you are reaching you might not know about, even countries you've never heard of before. The other thing you should know is under my account, you can now download all of your sales reports. So that's pretty handy, and authors are loving that. And if you want to grab a couple months, we've got the full history there.
And when you go to that My Account, you can actually see a preview of sort of what that month was as well, like the high level stuff, which is fantastic, which we didn't have before, which is great as an author.
Yeah, it took a lot of work, but it was worth it.
Thank you for doing that work. Other thing, exciting things. So the amazing Rakuten Kobo partnership with Walmart in the U.S.
Yeah.
How has that been going?
It's been awesome. It's been just over 1 month now, so still super early days, but there are displays across the U.S. with eBooks, audiobooks, and Kobo devices, so Walmart readers are seeing Kobo for the first time, which is really exciting. The best news is if you're opted into Kobo Writing Life and you're distributing to the U.S., you're automatically available, so you don't have to do anything. We're doing the work.
You're automatically available in Walmart
Yeah.
online, which is fantastic. And then there's been some promos where you can actually be targeted into some of those Walmart promos.
Exactly, and with digital cards in store, there's a ton of individual titles we're selling to in-store customers who potentially have not bought an ebook yet, and I have a lot of indie authors in there. So if you're in a Walmart, check it out. You might see some names that you recognize.
Oh, that is fantastic. Really exciting. So the promotions that you can do with Kobo Writing Life are a real way that when I talk to authors, that's the thing that helps them. So what if they don't have the promotions tab? What do they do?
Well, it's pretty easy. You email us, writinglife@kobo.com, ask for it, and we'll give it to you. No problem.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you, Christine, and thank you for hanging out with me today.
Bye.
Hey, Mark, Leslie Lefebvre here, talking with Ricardo from Reedsy at Novelist Inc. in St. Pete, Florida. Ricardo,
hey, everyone.
So, Ricardo, what is Reedsy, and how does Reedsy help an author?
So Reedsy is a platform where you can find really good editors, designers, marketers, publicists, ghostwriters, and website designers. So kind of anyone you need to hire in your author career, you can find them on Reedsy. And we're obviously a really carefully vetted marketplace, so only 3% of people who apply to be on it actually get accepted.
Okay, cool. So it's not just anyone who wants to do cover design, anyone who does marketing or whatever. You're actually taking a look at these people, and they have to be qualified before they can help out with that, right? Is that?
Yeah. We only accept around 3% of people, and we basically look at their profile. So if they've worked on a traditional publisher before, or if they worked with high-name indies, we basically take a look at their portfolio and their work experience and determine whether they kind of meet our criteria or not.
Okay, cool. Now, Reedsy has some other tools, not just helping you curate professionals in the industry, which is very valuable, but you have other tools that you have available for people, such as the eBook creation.
Yeah, we've got what we call it the Reedsy Book Editor. It's basically something like Vellum, but it's online, so something to help you format your books. It works for ebook and print on demand. Okay. So there's less customization options as Vellum, obviously.
Okay, right.
But it is a free product.
Okay, and it's online, it's in the cloud, you can just set it up.
Exactly.
And then the last thing is lots of great resources at Reedsy. So if I need to learn about certain aspects of the industry, I can go to the Reedsy blog, and there's places where I can, there's free courses, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we try to put up as much free content as possible. And I think the most popular one is our free courses, so Reedsy Learning.
Okay.
And so we've got 41 free courses now on writing, editing, publishing, marketing.
Okay.
We've got an amazing course on hacking Kobo. I don't know who wrote that.
I wonder who wrote that one.
Yeah, who wrote that
I
one?
don't know. Maybe some bald guy.
And so you can learn about Kobo optimization on there. You can learn about obviously Amazon optimization, Facebook ads, mailing lists, a bunch of things for free.
That's cool. And you just finished a presentation on marketing.
I did.
For autism.
I did.
What was one of the takeaways that the audience really resonated with them?
I think the main one is kind of a hack to reach people at companies. So everyone's using Facebook ads to reach readers, consumers. But you can actually use Facebook ads and also LinkedIn ads to reach people who work at companies. So if you, for example, let's say you want to get a print distribution deal with a publisher, which is highly unlikely, but you want to reach people who work at Penguin Random House or Simon & Schuster. There are actually audiences on Facebook where you can target employees of Simon & Schuster, employees of Penguin Random House. They're super small audiences, so if you spend $10, you're going to reach the whole audience several times.
Wow.
And these people are at least going to see your book, so that when you send them an email afterwards asking for a meeting...
You look familiar. Oh my God, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's it.
Great hack. You didn't have to come to NINC. You should come to NINC, but you didn't have to come to NINC to get that. Thanks, Ricardo, for hanging out with me.
Thanks for Facebook Live.
Well, those were some of the great conversations that I've had. Just quick ones, and where we had Wi-Fi and I could do a quick Facebook Live video, chatting, gotten some great insights. Those are just a few of the insights that I had. My head is still stuffed, and it's filled with all of the information that I'm learning here at NINC. There's an in-joke for anyone who doesn't know. Then when I introduced Christine Munroe as director of Kobo Writing Life, and she joked about it's great to meet you, and we laughed. Just for those of you who don't know, I used to be Christine's boss at Kobo. I hired her and left Kobo recently, so it was kind of this cute thing. It was great to see her. I hadn't seen her in months, and always great to hang out with her and so many of the other amazing folks that you can network with. But one of the common themes, I'm not going to do a long reflection in this episode, but one of the common themes that I've talked to a lot of writers and industry folks about this time is something that's kind of important to think about. The novelists who are here, the writers who are here, are mostly hugely successful authors doing really, really amazing things. Many of them are from traditional publishing, and many of them are from self-publishing, and there's a great hybrid mix here. And so there's lots of experience on both sides, and I love that openness and inclusiveness. But I think one of the common themes and common elements is talking to different folks, talking to Julie Ortorlan, who was just chatting with me in the hallway about this session she went from Sean Coyne on the Story Grid, and just how eye-opening it was. And it reminded her of things she remembered learning when she first started writing, but she'd gotten to be a professional and so sort of lost some of that, and sort of brought her back to the learnings and reminding her of some of those really critical editorial pieces. And Joanna Penn, I watched her come out of an amazing session, and she had this look of awe on her face, and I was like, well, Joe, that's what people look like when they left your session this morning. And she was just impressed and inspired, and I'm seeing that look on the face of so many people here, and these are people who I respect and admire, who have tons of knowledge and insight. And so it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, it doesn't matter how successful you've been, we're always still learning all the time. That is actually one of the things that I put into my presentation this morning, and I've reflected on this before in the past in the podcast, but it's important. It's that Harry Bosch principle that Michael Connolly writes about with his fictitious character Harry Bosch, is that everybody counts or nobody counts. And that's a reminder to me that I can learn from everyone in the industry, even if I believe I have more experience than somebody. They still have a different perspective and different experience that I can learn from. And I will never stop learning. And that's one of the great things about a place like this. You think, well, this is my 4th or 5th NINC that I've been to. I've probably learned it all, haven't I? The reality is I continue to learn more. I continue to learn more from the new people I've met. I continue to learn more from the folks I haven't had a chance to chat with yet. And I continue to learn more about platforms that I thought I knew. But there are insights and tricks and tips and little things that you chat about with other writers in the hallway, even if you're not catching them in some of the sessions. And that's the true reflection that I wanted to share here today, is I'm constantly learning, you're constantly learning, we're all constantly learning and opening our minds and eyes and hearts to the possibilities and the amazing things that are available to us writers today. Well, that's sort of a soft, calm reflection for this episode. Thanks for joining me on episode 40 of the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. It is now 7 p.m. and I need to get myself down to some of the social events so I can network and hang out and chat with some of the other amazing folks I haven't had a chance to see. If you're following on the Facebook page, I will continue to post short clips and short clips and videos, I should say, of the of chats and conversations when people are willing to let me put them on the spot and do a quick live video. So you can check that out. And again, I'll probably include some of those clips in future episodes as I do sort of a part 2 or maybe even a roundup of some of the learnings that I brought back from Novelists Inc. here in St. Pete, Florida. Thank you so much for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. If you enjoy the podcast, please feel free to leave a review for it. Thank you so much for the folks who have done that, or share it with a friend that you think would get some value from it. Again, this is Mark, wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.